Hey, thanks for showing interest in the 8mm Film Festival, and I just wanted to do a little demo on the cameras that you could be using for your film. So starting off, this is your film stock. It's a film cartridge, and the film goes from one side to the other and is cranked by this little gear. So right now, you can see film right here because it's not shot, but once it's done, you won't see any film there. So starting out with the Argos, you open up the door like that. To load the film, you want to push the front in first and pop the back in second. To turn it on, you're going to want to take this little knob and go from lock to run, and the next switch is on this side and go from off to 18. 18 is your frames per second. So right in the front, on top of the handle, is the trigger to start rolling. As long as you push it, you're continually rolling. So as a rule of thumb, you want to record in at least 5-second bursts. That means holding down the trigger for 5 full seconds. Nothing's worse than a bunch of footage where you just have bursts of 1-second clips. On the top is your focusing ring. Definitely focus before you start recording. Underneath is the zoom ring. And if you want to get really fancy, this has electronic zoom. Pretty cool. To put the batteries in, it's on the bottom. You flip it up. The battery case comes out. When you put the battery back in, there's a little arrow here, and there's a little arrow on the battery pack itself. Make sure they're pointing at each other. Slide it in and close the latch. For metering with this camera, you're gonna look through the viewfinder and you'll see a little needle, and you're gonna see a plus and a minus. The needle is gonna go back and forth, sensing how much light is going through the lens. If the needle is all the way to the plus, that means it's too bright. If it's all the way to the minus, that means it's too dark. So you need to find lighting locations that keep that needle right in the middle. I would recommend not shooting with this in direct sunlight because it's gonna be too bright. The needle is gonna go all the way to the plus. If you're inside and it's too shady, the needle is gonna go all the way to the minus. For best results, you're gonna wanna shoot outside in the shade or inside if it's well lit. Don't bother shooting at night. So this camera is a little bit more complicated to use because it has modifications, but let's start with the basics. On the top here, you'll see film and then an arrow, nothing simpler. Hold that down, film canister opens. So very similar, you're gonna pop the front in first and push the back in. So this first knob here goes from lock to run. Lock is off, run is on. So over here on the handle, the trigger allows the camera to start functioning. As long as you're holding the trigger down, the film is rolling. So this camera actually lets you choose your frames per second. You can go from 12 to 18 to 24. So at 12 frames per second, you're gonna get a lot more footage. You'll get about 5 minutes of footage, but that footage is gonna be very choppy. At 18, you'll get a little bit less choppy and you'll get about 4 minutes of footage. 24 frames per second is gonna give you the most natural looking video because it's a standard frame rate. But you're only gonna get 2.5 to 3 minutes of footage total. So up front, you'll see how to focus. Always focus before you start rolling. In back of that, a little zoom function. Also, electronic zoom. So you take the batteries out by this little latch in the back, which shows a little battery cartridge. You kind of split it in half to put your batteries in. And I find if you put the batteries into the side without the springs first, it makes better contact. These are pretty old cameras. To put it back in, you take the side of the battery compartment with the 2 contacts, you put that side down and lock it back. So with this modification, you can control your aperture. So as you turn this bolt clockwise, the aperture is going to close down. It's gonna go from 8 to 5.6 to 4 to 2.8 to 2. Once you see 2, you're gonna start seeing a red bar go in. At that point, stop retracting the bolt. All of those will be able to be seen in the top of the viewfinder. They're really smudged, but you'll be able to tell which is which. So this is the last camera here, and you load it from the side. You open up this, turn it till it clicks, door opens, and you put the film in, and it snaps right in. And then you shut the door and turn it back, and you're ready to go. So over on this side, you'll see 24, 18, and 12. These are your frame rates. Up front, you got your focus wheel, and on the side here, electronic zoom. So on this side, this is how you turn on the camera. You go from off to on, which is the R setting, and then the one below it is too complicated, don't even worry about it. To retract the hand grip, you pull on this, you pull it up, and it goes to the side. So the batteries go into the grip, and on the bottom with a coin, you can undo it, and that's where the batteries are. And on this side, it tells you what orientation the batteries go on. Right next to the hand grip is a little silver knob, and that's how you start rolling. As long as you're pushing down on the trigger and holding it, you're rolling. So over here, you'll see auto and manual. You always want to be on manual because you'll have aperture controls. As you look through the viewfinder, you'll see a needle and it'll go from f16 to f2. With this knob, you can dial in what aperture you want. Thanks for watching, and we hope you have fun shooting on these cameras. If you have any questions, let us know.